There is a lot of debate as to whether light rail or bus rapid transit is better. I will seek to resolve this debate for once and for all. But probably, I'll cause further debate. Especially since my answer may surprise you. So the first thing I should say is that there are many variations in the sort of service offered by light rail lines, and there are many variations in the sort of service offered by bus rapid transit lines. I'll call bus rapid transit BRT for the rest of this video, by the way. Light rail can range from completely grade separated to completely running along the street and stopping at traffic lights without any priority given to the rail vehicle. And BRT can have some, or all, of the following features: dedicated bus lanes that are strictly separated from traffic, off-board fare payment, transit signal priority, limited stop service, and platform level boarding, to name a few. Because of these variations, it is very hard to paint a broad brush and be like, all light rail is better than all of BRT for most categories. And because of these variations, for the purposes of this video, I'm going to determine which is better, light rail at its best or BRT at its best. So onward to determining the BRT versus light rail debate. One of the first things transit agencies look at is the price tag for building a line. So, let's look at the price tags for a current BRT project and a current light rail project. Columbus, Ohio will be opening several BRT lines in the coming years. One that is opening in 2028 has a price tag of $145 million to $180 million. It is an 8.5-mile line, meaning that it would be no more expensive than about $21 million per mile. Meanwhile, Los Angeles reached completion this year on a 9.1-mile, four-stop extension of its A line. It comes out at a price tag of $1.5 billion. This is a price tag of about $165 million per mile. And this is not uncommon. BRT is generally cheaper to build than light rail. As such, the advantage on cost to build goes to BRT. What about cost to maintain? This is the subject of a great debate. Rail vehicles are replaced less often than buses, but are also more expensive than buses. Rail takes less personnel to operate in order to carry the same number of people. But also, instead of fixing potholes and sinkholes, you're fixing signal issues and track structure issues. The cost to maintain question is complicated and nuanced enough that I don't feel ready to reach a conclusion on whether light rail or BRT is better in this category. One area where I am able to reach a conclusion is on the question of capacity. Light rail is able to carry more people than BRT, hands down. A number of years ago, we saw this play out when the Orange Line BRT in LA, which is now known as the G Line, was apparently experiencing capacity issues, despite carrying fewer people than some of the area's light rail lines. So if you want the higher capacity transit, you have to go for light rail. And because light rail has a higher capacity than BRT, it also offers more upside when it comes to transit-oriented development. However, you can have transit-oriented development around BRT stations. I should also note that when the light rail is built on highway medians or has stations surrounded by parking lots, these aren't recipes for transit-oriented development. So BRT built along busy corridors brings better potential for transit-oriented development than light rail in the middle of a highway. The answer is also a bit nuanced when it comes to travel speeds. Once again, light rail has higher upside. If light rail is grade separated, it can have speeds in excess of 50 miles per hour either above or under major thoroughfares. These speeds are difficult to impossible for BRT to accomplish while running along major thoroughfares. That said, light rail often runs at grade, which means that it stops at traffic lights. This slows down the light rail significantly, to the point where light rail speeds are more comparable to BRT. Going back to LA, The G-Line BRT has the same average speeds as the K-Line light rail, and is actually slightly faster than the E-Line light rail. Let's get to a category where the answer isn't so nuanced. Comfort. Rail transit in general is more comfortable than buses. The ride quality, even when you stop and start a lot, is just plain old better with rail than with any kind of bus, including BRT. And this is not a metric to ignore, because if you want to get people to use public transit more, you want public transit to be a comfortable, pleasant experience. You're much more likely to get that with rail than with BRT. Anecdotally, I have only gotten train sick once, and that one time was when the air conditioning wasn't working on my Amtrak train. I have gotten bus sick on many occasions, though. However, BRT is superior to light rail in the route flexibility department. If a street has issues keeping BRT from running on it, the BRT route can usually be diverted onto another street. Yes, the BRT would be slowed down, but the most important thing is that it would still be running. The same can't be said for light rail, where if the rail tracks the line runs on has issues, it's doomed. While BRT has an advantage in the flexibility department, I think that it is at a distinct disadvantage compared to light rail when it comes to getting people out of cars. Because it is lower capacity than light rail, there's a bit of a cap when it comes to how many automobiles a BRT line can take off the road. A cap that is lower than what you can find with light rail. Furthermore, because light rail offers a better, and sometimes faster, ride than BRT, the increased comfort and possibly increased speed makes light rail more likely to get people out of cars than BRT, in my opinion. The last metric I'll look at here before reaching any conclusions is quickness of implementation. This is Advantage BRT, hands down. Oklahoma City took less than 2 years to construct their first BRT line, open it, and see it become the area's most successful bus line. In contrast, Baltimore's previous proposal for an east-west light rail line, called the Red Line, was going to take a lot longer than that. And this is the norm, rather than the exception. If you want to implement improved transit quickly for your city, BRT is the way to go. And given that many of the politicians making decisions on transit only have a few years to leave an impression, that fact can't be ignored. I could debate the pluses and minuses of light rail and BRT all day, but at some point, I have to reach a conclusion. Is BRT or light rail superior? Before answering this question, I want to ask people to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more content on imagining better mass transit in the United States. Feel free to leave a comment in the comment section below, so that you can express your thoughts and feelings on the light rail versus BRT debate. And the answer is not going to be entirely satisfying. It depends. Because BRT is so much cheaper to build than light rail, I think a city should go for BRT unless current or anticipated future demand merits a higher capacity than what can be carried by BRT, which is where the light rail comes in. But how do you know if current or future demand merits light rail? Here's my working answer. A metro area should get light rail instead of, or in addition to BRT if it A. has a metro area population of 1 million people or more, B. has an abundance of events that require the movement of a large number of people in a short amount of time. For example, sporting events or concerts, and C. has pockets of high population density. In other words, census tracts where there are 10,000 people or more per square mile. This sounds arbitrary, but the smallest metro area to have a heavily used light rail system is Salt Lake City. They had a metro population of about 1 million when they built their light rail in the 1990s, and they also have B and C going for them. Furthermore, the higher ridership light rail systems in the US have all three of these things going for them. If a metro area had the population size and either B or C going for them, it should strongly consider light rail, especially if their metro area is growing. There's also a certain threshold at which a metro area should consider heavy rail rather than light rail, That's a topic for another video, though. Also a topic for another video? The next video, in fact. The question of whether my acknowledgement that buses are sometimes best means that I should expand my channel's focus beyond only talking about rail. This video has gone long enough, so I'll answer that question in my next video. The next video will be in 2 weeks' time because I'm taking next week off so that I can vacation a little bit.